time is 6:30, so I'm going to call to order the regular meeting of the school board for Thursday, September 14th. So please stand for our pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
Never miss it. Oh my gosh, you're today. Who brought that in? Thank you.
Okay, we will start with the adoption of the agenda. It is recommended that the agenda of the September 14th, 2023 regular meeting of the Board of School Trustees be approved as presented.
Motion.
All those in favor? Approval of minutes. It is recommended that the minutes of the August 10th, 2023 regular meeting of the Board of School Trustees be approved as presented.
Motion.
Oh, go ahead, Scott.
Motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Okay, at this time, we'll take statements and questions from our public. Thank you. Okay, so let me just preface it by saying that there is a 2-minute time limit for each person and that you cannot talk about any personnel names. That's big. No. Our first one is B. Wagner.
Sorry, I'm first. My name is Dee Wagner. I am a Fountain Central alumni. I was in the first 7th grade class when we consolidated here. I graduated in 71. I've had 3 kids go to school here. I have grandkids to go to school here. And I'm real concerned about the history of our school. It says royal blue and gold, and it should have never, ever been changed. And I'm sure everybody knows how that happened. Not going to mention any names to that or anything. Should have never happened. I'm disappointed in the person that did it. I'm disappointed in the school board. But history needs to stand up for itself. We are the Mustangs. We're a great school, and our colors are royal blue and gold. And simple as that. And I thank everybody for listening and thank everybody for coming and do the right thing because this is right.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay, our second will be Cheryl Harshbarger.
Yeah, I agree with B. I'd like to see the colors restored to the blue and gold. And another question I had was the bus that you had painted or whatever you did to it for the football team. How did that all come about?
We can't answer questions during hearing of the visitors, but I'll address that at the end of the program.
Oh,
Okay. Okay, Waylon Frazee.
Got these for everybody. If you'd like one, pick one up. As many of you know, I am Waylon Frazee, a senior here at Fountain Central. At SEFSC, our mission is to meet the needs of all students and provide them with the skills needed to be successful in their future endeavors, according to our school website. One of these skills I'm extremely passionate about is our school, our staff members, what we represent and what represents us. In Fountain County, we have unique colors that stand out like a diamond in the rough. We've had these colors for years now, and that has helped us form our own image and to stand out in the conference and other surrounding schools. When I hear Fountain Central, I instantly think of the fight song. Let's take a look at our school's fight songs that we've had since our humble beginnings. You will see we share it with a particular college in South Bend. By now, I'm sure you know the school I'm discussing is Notre Dame. Does it not make sense to sing their fight song and have the same colors as well? Furthermore, our navy and gold sets gold standards for our students, staff, and athletes. When our athletes are competing and referees see our sportsmanship, they instantly know the navy blue and gold of Fountain Central athletes possesses high standards, morals, and values. They will remember our colors in the games and seasons to come because of our lasting impacts on the sports. If we were to make a color change, think of the headache that may cause in our area. We would no longer be unique because of a team whom we compete against in virtually every sport already has very similar colors to the royal blue and yellow. Crawfordsville is a larger and older school. They've had their current colors since before we were even established. Changing colors now may make it look like we are copying them, even if we weren't. We all know how rumors and lies spread. Furthermore, if we were to change, our uniqueness would dwindle. We would no longer stand out of the crowd as a beacon of sportsmanship. It will make it tougher to set ourselves apart in competition and in education. Next, all of our apparel would no longer seem relevant. Not just sportswear, but fan apparel as well. Our football wear would be a total of roughly $150 to $300 per set of uniforms based on the national averages, including pants, jerseys, and helmets. For boys and girls basketball, clothes would be a total of $120 to $150 a piece for warm-ups, home and away outfits. In wrestling,
Time's up. You guys want to see what he's got his speech prepared on the paper?
Okay. Rick Lighty.
I've also got a handout for the board and superintendent. Ken? Thanks. Yep. Stop. What?
Oh, I've seen this.
Don't forget you're on the clock. Oh, I know, yeah.
I haven't started yet. I'll start now.
Josh, I appreciate that. Thank you. The reason we're here this evening is to ask the school board to restore our original school colors to royal blue and gold, or yellow, as most would refer to it as. Royal blue or gold are Fountain's official school colors that was voted on by the student bodies of the 4 incoming high schools and presented to the school board on November 5th, 1964 by each respective school student councils, and by a motion duly made and seconded and unanimously passed by the Southeast Fountain School Board on November 19th, 1964. At some point in our school's history, our royal blue and gold will change to the current colors of navy blue and old Vegas gold, and they should not have been changed. We asked the school board to implement this requested restoration in the following way. First one, when a respected team, band, cheer, pep club uniforms are eligible for replacement, we ask that royal blue and gold be ordered at that time. The gym floor, when it's time for the gym floor to be repainted and resurfaced, which is typically every 5 years, we would ask that royal blue and gold be used at that time. School maintenance and painting, when it's time for the painting and the general maintenance inside the school, we ask that the area is currently painted with navy and old gold. That color should be repainted with our official school colors of royal blue and gold. With this plan for restoring our royal blue and gold, the school corporation will not spend any more dollars than it normally would to replace the uniforms, maintain the gym floor, and interior of the school. We believe this restoration to royal blue and gold is important because our founding school history matters. It should not be discounted just because it occurred in 1964. The students that came before us, who put in the time and the hard work to make Fountain Central what we were, color-wise, and who we still should be today, that history and the principles of their efforts and their voices do matter, and they should never be taken for granted or minimized. In conclusion, as a Fountain Central alumni of the class of 1988, it is my sincere hope that the school board will give our request to restore our school's colors, founding history, and royal blue and gold colors serious consideration and ultimately approval to do so. Members of the school board, I want to say thank you to each of you for your time and consideration this evening. Thank you.
And our next speaker will be Barry Lighty.
Thank you. And thank you for allowing me to have my say so. My agenda is not unlike anybody else's here that you've already heard from. Other than I'm original, I was a senior, first year, graduated first year from here. And I also had a vote on the colors. And I guess I have a hard time understanding how all this come about. I know you guys may not have answers. I don't know. But I think looking back on the minutes of school board meetings back when this change occurred, I think you might find out. I don't know, but I was very proud to wear royal blue and gold. Read over the minutes from the 64 meeting, and navy blue was mentioned. The student council members went back to their respective schools. They come back and said royal blue was favored over navy blue. And they also wanted the bright gold. So, but anyway, again, I thank you for the time. And I do hope this gets some serious consideration because it is history, and in the recent past, we've seen history just go away in this country. And I hate to put it on that level, but to me, that's what it feels like. So, thanks again.
Thank you.
Okay. That was it. Got it on that. Okay, so we'll move on now to the administrative recommendations. Claims. It is recommended that prepaid and August claims numbered 99,961 to 100,112 be approved as presented.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Personnel. It is recommended that the maternity leave request for Sarah Martin be approved for September 25th through November 17th.
Motion.
All in favor? It is recommended that Donna Deal be hired to complete the maternity leave for Sarah Martin.
Is there anything you'd like to tell them about who she is?
No, you guys all know Donna. She's gonna do great for us.
Yeah.
We're excited to have her.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor? It is recommended that Rick Keeling be hired as a full-time custodian at Southeast Fountain Schools.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Quotes. It is recommended that the quote from Second Gear in the amount of $24,972 be approved to purchase new staff laptops.
I will say that these will be purchased through a grant. And I'll talk more about that grant later in the meeting, but this is not coming out of general fund. It's all from a grant that we've been working.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor? It is recommended that the quote from Custom Fence and Sons in the amount of $19,914.88 be approved to install new fencing on campus.
That over the summer, we were able to do fencing in the front playground here that our pre-K and some of our life skills students use. The fencing behind the elementary school, there are places that there was no fencing at all and places where there was fencing, but the posts were never cemented into the ground. So we have a lot of work to do with fencing. We also have a number of students who are runners. We're looking at that, but we need to make sure that we have a secure area so we don't have any concerns of students running into the cornfields behind our school or anything else. So it's both for safety of our kids and for security of our district that we need to do fencing.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor? It is recommended that the quote from Rowing IT Solutions in the amount of $23,274 be approved to purchase additional cameras for both school buildings.
Again, this will add to the security. We're working very diligently each year to continually upgrade and improve our security.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor? It is recommended that the quote from Hydronic and Steam in the amount of $12,900 be approved to purchase a replacement heat exchanger for the high school boiler system.
Again, some of our equipment as we've discussed before, is very outdated, and so we have things that need to be replaced from time to time, and this is one of them.
Motion.
Second. All in favor? Field trip. It is recommended that the overnight field trip be approved for the FFA to attend the National FFA Convention in Indianapolis, Indiana. They will be gone from October 31st through November 2nd.
Motion. Second.
All those in favor? Donations. It is recommended that the $3,750 donation from Hoosier Heartland State Bank be accepted for the building trades program.
We are very fortunate to have so many community partners. This will be our third year to get for our building trades program to build a new house in the community, housing that is very much needed. As you know, materials, construction costs have a price tag on them, and so we're very appreciative of Hoosier Heartland for this donation to help with our building of our home.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor? It is recommended that the $7,500 donation from the Fountain Trust Company be accepted for the building trades program.
Again, this is another one of our community partners. This bank has also generously made a donation to help with constructing our third home in the community.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor? It is recommended that the $7,500 donation from Center Bank be accepted for the building trades program.
And again, I'm very grateful for our community partners and their generosity. So I ask you to accept this donation.
Motion.
Second. And all those in favor? It is recommended that the donation of land from the Sterling Christian Church be approved to use for the building trades program.
We can't build homes if we don't have a place to build them. And initially, some of those donations from the banks in the past couple of years have helped us to purchase land to do that. This year, Sterling Church has generously donated, where their former churches they use for the youth center, they've donated property there for the build for this year, which enables us then to use the other donations that we've received to help with the construction costs.
Motion. Second.
All those in favor? General obligation bond. The next item on the agenda is for the board to hold a project hearing on the proposed project. If you're interested in speaking at this hearing, please make sure you've signed the sign-in sheet at the back of the room, which should include your name and your address. After a presentation by the administration and its advisors, there will be an important for the public to make comments about the project. At the hearing, we will ask that each person limit their comments to 2 minutes and that the topic be limited to the proposed project under consideration. The notice of this hearing was published as legally required on August 31st, 2023 in the Fountain County Neighbor. At this time, I will ask that Dr. Grimes explain the purpose of this hearing.
Pursuant to Indiana Code 20-26-7-37, before a school corporation may spend more than $1 million to build, repair, or alter a school building that will be financed by a lease or bonds, it must hold a public hearing at which explanations of the potential value of the project to the school corporation and community are given. These public hearings and the adoption of resolution is the beginning of the legal process. These resolutions establish the financial terms for the proposed project.
We will now hear from designee Lindsay Good about the process of determining and communicating the project to the community and the need for the project.
A request for proposals was published in both the Journal Review and the Fountain County Neighbor in 2 consecutive weeks, August 17th and the 24th. Since those were published, we have had 3 companies reach out and respond. communicate and gather the information that they need. And all three have stated that they plan to submit their specifications by the due date, so.
We will now hear from Mr. Davenport, a school administrator, about how the proposed project meets the needs of the district.
Yeah, so I'll be brief. As all of you know, we have our junior high and our high school swim and diving teams, boys and girls. They access the pool. The elementary, kindergarten through 5th grade, access that as an activity class pretty much every day, I'd say. The FAST program services kids of all ages in our community as well. And because of the facility, the HVAC in there, the poor conditions in the pool area, some of that has been canceled before. So it's a much needed update for that facility.
We will now hear from Raymond James and Associates, our underwriter, Damian Magos, Corporation CFO, about how the proposed project will be financed, as well as information about the effect on the typical property taxpayer.
Let's just say.
I have handouts of I've come prepared for that. I teach a class at Mindy. I'm still okay, so we're looking at financing the proposed project here. And through the use of general obligation bonds, those are bonds of the school.
You might want to speak up just a little bit louder.
Okay, so we're going to finance the proposed project through the use of general obligation bonds. Those are bonds that the school corporation can issue for these types of projects. There is a statutory limit to how much the school corporation can issue. And that limit, the statute says it's essentially a third of 2% of the assessed value of the school corporation. So because your pay 24 assessed value has come out, however, because we're looking at issuing the bonds in 2023, we have to use the 2023 assessed value. So we will use the 2024 to calculate the impacts and things like what the tax rate would be. So the almost 467 million, 2% of that is 9.3 million, a third of that is 3.1 million. The school corporation issued general obligation bonds in 2017. There's $240,000 remaining on that. So this is a cumulative amount. So when you subtract that, the school corporation has 2,873,000 capacity to issue for this project. And so what we're proposing is a bond issue not to exceed $2,870,000. Of that, 2.7 million, a little bit over 2.7 million would be used for the construction and the renovation for the project. Once you get your bids and we actually know what the number is, it cannot exceed the $2.8 million number. There's some costs associated with that, about $100,000. There won't be any more. This is just an estimate now. There won't be any more than that, and I expect that that's probably costs somewhere plus or minus $80,000. When you get the bids and you can identify everything. So we're looking at a very quick payback, because the statute says this is cumulative. We can issue these bonds relatively easily, very quick, but we want to pay them back so we have more capacity should there be a need to issue debt again real quick. And so the gray area, or the gray bars, that's the existing debt. You can see you've got some, a couple more years of debt left on the 2017 issue. So if we were to issue bonds by the end of the year, this year, you're in the process of going through the budgeting, we put in a number, we could actually, about $1.7 or so million number for payment next year. You can go through the budgeting process and get the approval to levy that amount, and then the balance would be paid in 2025. This is the tax rate, and this was the budget on the 2017 issue. The tax rate, you see 25 cents down to about 17, and will continue to go down. The decrease in here was because from page 22 to page 23, you had an increase in your assessed value. Okay, and so what we're looking at is adding the repayment in 2024 and then again in 2025. And the overall effect is in 2022, the school corporation had a 87-cent overall tax rate. It dropped to about 73, 74 cents because of the assessed value. And all we're looking at doing is with this impact, taking the tax rate, not quite back to the 87, but just a little bit under the 84, about 84 cents or so. And then there is the ability next year for the school corporation to maybe do another small borrowing, or even look at maybe looking at capital needs or for the future. So are there any questions?
Thank you.
Thanks.
So we will now open the public hearing. Remember, if you would like to speak, please sign the clipboard on the table near the door. We ask that you state your name and address, limit your comments to the proposed project and financing, keep any comments to 2 minutes, and avoid being repetitive if possible. Did we have any signatures on the? Okay. Okay. So thank you to all who are participating in this hearing. We appreciate your time and interest in the project and the future of our community. Please note that this is just the first step in the legal process. The board will continue to work with the administration and its professionals to look for efficiencies to conserve our tax dollars while meeting our educational needs. Dr. Grimes, could you please summarize the project resolution?
Yes, we have had guests at board meetings as well as your own observation. We had a facility study done by 2 different corporations, and one of the things that we found over and over are significant issues with our HVAC and mechanical issues and other things, specifically in our pool area. And because it is a much used space, both for classrooms, as Mr. Davenport mentioned, the elementary and the high school use it. Athletic teams, both not only ours, but all the communities that come, and community organizations, because it's used for the FAST program and so forth. There serious need to address the issues that we have there, and this is a much needed project. The project resolution is required when the school is planning to spend more than $1 million per building. It contains, as he said, both the estimated hard and soft construction costs and the costs of issuances as established for the total project cost. Right now, I'm just asking that you give me the opportunity to do the project resolution. We do not have the costs, and that comes later. This is just the legal parts leading up to that.
Can I have a motion? And a
Motion.
second to adopt it.
Second.
Okay, and all those in favor? Okay. Dr. Grimes, the next resolution is that's you said. Yeah.
The next resolution is a preliminary bond resolution relating to the financing of the construction project. This resolution establishes the maximum financial terms of the bonds. Mr. Mattis just told you that it's governed by law, how much we can get. And also, when I met with him, we looked very closely at being tax neutral, being where the district was. We know there was a little drop because with assessed value, but so we're not raising above where we were.
Okay. Could I have a motion to adopt the preliminary bond resolution?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Dr. Grimes, could you please summarize the reimbursement resolution?
The next resolution that I'm asking for is a reimbursement resolution relating to the financing of the construction project. This resolution permits the school corporation to reimburse itself from bond proceeds for any cash which it might spend on the project prior to the closing on the bonds. It is required by federal tax law in order to preserve the school corporation's ability to reimburse itself. Now, I don't know that that will happen, but we need to have it in place just in case we start this project while we're still waiting for the funds to come.
Can I have a motion to adopt the reimbursement resolution?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay. I think that takes care of that. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on now to our elementary report.
I want to start by recognizing a few of our staff members this evening. First, our nurse, Rebecca Trosper. There was new guidance proposed this summer and enacted by the state that we did have to have all of our students with documentation regarding updated vaccinations. So those reports and medical records had to be updated to CHIRP, or they had to have documentation on file of appointment upcoming, or an exemption form. And she got all 500 of our students processed and on time, and that was a huge undertaking because it was due just a couple weeks after school started. So we really appreciate all of the work with that. Secondly, I want to congratulate our third grade team, special education resource staff, and really all of our primary teachers on their efforts in IRE3 last year. All the conference scores were let out of the embargo, and we were first in the conference with a pass rate of 91%. So we think that's pretty exciting. Monday, September 18th at 1 o'clock, the American Legion will be presenting our flag education program to our fourth grade students. This is a program we've had for several years at the elementary, and I believe now that every student, fourth through seniors, have been a part of that program. So they will have some pieces in the Veterans Day program with that as well. Our parent-teacher conferences are scheduled for October 2nd through 6th. Again, just like last year, we'll have kind of a hybrid model, so families will be able to choose between a phone conference and an in-person conference, just trying to get as much attendance as we can and meeting our families where they are. So those will occur that week. And we also want to wish the Mustangs good luck tomorrow night in their homecoming game. Thank you.
Thank you. Next will be our student report, Sammy Kraut.
Hi, thank you for that. We're all super excited for homecoming week. It's been going super well. We just wanted to extend a big thank you to all the staff and students who have all participated. It has been super fun. Actually, this year there will not be any dance after the game. Instead, we're going to be hosting our first homecoming after party. Students are going to have access to both gyms, the cafeteria, and the pool this year for games, music, just hanging out, and so much more. And as usual, it will end at 11 o'clock. On October 17th, we are going to host Senior Day at the Landing. This is the first time that we have held this event. This event will give seniors the opportunity to get their class picture, senior headshots, and cap and gown measurements. There's also going to be representatives from colleges, businesses, for students to discuss their future plans. We're hoping this will be successful and that we'll be able to continue this for years to come. The PSAT for all freshmen will be held on October 5th. The PSAT for all sophomores will be on October 6th. And thank you to the school board for inviting me back to be a representative this year.
Thank you for being here with us. Discussion items, our 2024 budget proposal. Dr. Grimes.
Maybe it's going to come up and maybe it's not. All right, so it's that time of year where we get to plan for the spending in 2024. So again, I worked very closely with Tom Johnson, who, from Administrative Assistance, who has assisted in our budget process. He is an expert in this field and has worked on school budgets for much of his career. So we worked together to plan this year's budget. It was really based on, we looked at our spending in 2023, our anticipated enrollment, and where we will go from for 2024. For the school budget, there are 4 different funds, and this is by the government. One is a rainy day fund. That is money that we put into rainy day from our other budgets. If we have funding left over at the end of the year, then we can move some money into rainy day. We have a very healthy rainy day fund. We're hoping to add another $500,000 to that rainy day fund in 2024. But we've been very fortunate that we've been able to do that. Debt service, Mr. Magos talked a little bit about where our debt was during his presentation, but this is the bonds that the school holds for when the buildings were built, or when we have to do major projects such as the pool area or HVAC or any of those things. The debt service also includes the leases that we have for the copy machines in the district and things such as that. The third fund is the education fund. That money that we get in that fund is strictly dependent upon our enrollment in the district. So we get a set amount per student that is enrolled in the district, whether that student lives in our district or they're transferred from another district. If they're in Indiana, the money follows them to our district. And likewise, if any of our district students enroll outside of our district, we would not recoup that money. It would go to wherever the student is enrolled. And finally, our operations fund, again, that is strictly the proportion of taxes that are paid into the schools, and that's determined by the government what percentage that gets. There is a tax cap, so schools can't just, keep raising taxes, and contrary to some belief. The funds are meant for each area, and they're very specific what they can use for. The education funds that come from student tax dollars can only be used to pay teachers, teacher assistants, materials that are related directly to instruction, school administrators. I cannot be paid out of, for example, out of an education fund because I don't work directly with students or student materials. Operation funds is all of the other costs that a corporation has to encumber. That would be purchasing our buses and our fuel, paying our maintenance workers and our custodial staff, and your superintendent and any non-instructional staff in the district. It's also the funds that have to be used when we have to purchase computers, or when we have to do repairs or maintenance on facilities. So that comes from that fund. This year, we based our budget on the numbers that we ended with at the end of last year, specifically the education fund, because we do not know what our actual count day is. The state count day is not until October 2nd, but budgets have to be approved before then. So that's why it's called a proposed budget and an estimate. But what I will tell you is what we put in here, we can spend less, but we can't spend more than what we get in. So that's why we're still really hopeful that we will have money to go into rainy day when we're done, especially based on our projected enrollment. Operations fund, again, we get notified basically by the state of what our operation fund is based on the taxes that were collected within our taxing area. This budget, currently, the proposed budget, community members can see it online at budgetnotices.in.gov. I was required by law to publish the proposed budget on there. Additionally, tomorrow it will be posted on our school website for anyone that wants to look at every single page and see line by line how much goes towards special education and how much goes towards everything we have. Also, during the proposed budget, we look each year at our capital projects plan. These are the projects that, this is up to 5 years, things that we plan on doing, that we're working on, excuse me, that need to be done, upgrades that we continually do. To develop the capital projects plan, I meet with school administrators, our maintenance facility director. I also seek input from the board, as well as last year, we worked for the entire year and community members contributed to that, to our strategic plan. So some of these projects are developed out of that, and we really stayed close to that strategic plan. So as you can see, up above, I have listed the things that are on our plan. Some of these things are ongoing. We've already started and we're doing projects a little bit at a time. So please note, this does not mean that all of these things are going to be completed in 2024. Some of them, if you see in the first column, is when we hope to even start them. And the football stadium press box, we're hoping to start that in 2025. Some of the projects, are not going to be anticipated to be completed before sometime in 2026. And again, this is all dependent upon being able to finance the projects and how we do it. I am happy to say that we've been fortunate with some of the projects that have been on our capital project in the past, and even some of these projects, we still have the third ESSER funding. We still have this school year that we can use some of that funding. So if this is approved with the budget, then some of these we still have some ESSER dollars that can help fund some of these needed capital projects. We also, when we do the budget each year, we look at, and I propose the bus replacement plan. We really follow, it's a cycle each year. Because it's, the entire form isn't showing up here, but I'll tell you, it's a 5-year plan. And I work again with the transportation director and our mechanic to determine what buses will be replaced. So you see under corporation ID number, the bus number that we hope to replace. But that said, it may be in 2024. For example, I have bus 18. My mechanic may come to me and something serious may happen to another bus that's further down on the plan. So he might suggest that we need to switch and do one of the other plans. So some of the older buses, for example, bus 18 might be one of the buses that's got a much shorter route, one of our Petersburg town routes. It may not have nearly the miles on it that some of our county bus routes do. So this, again, is proposed, but the bus that's actually traded out and replaced could be a little different than what you see here. The years that we do the minibuses, we try to do an extra bus that year because the cost of minibus is lower. I will say, however, the cost of all of the buses increased significantly over the last 2 years. So again, on this proposal, I built a $2,000 jump each year as we're doing it. When you see a same proposal next year, it might look a little different depending on what happens with pricing. So again, I have provided the board members with your own copies of the proposed budget so that you can look through this before you're asked to approve it next month. It's also already on the government site that I quoted at the beginning for anyone that wants to go look at it, and it will be on our school district website. So as you look through the budget, then next month before you're asked to vote to approve the budget, I will try to answer any questions at that time that come through you or through the community.
Is there anyone that would like to speak? We have a clipboard for that, if anyone would like to. No name, nobody's, okay, all righty then.
All right, next on the agenda is actually statements from the superintendent. So there are a couple things I want to share. First of all, I mentioned that count day is not until October 2nd, but I just want to let you know where we are right now. It does change every day. I saw some enrollments today and some withdrawals today, and that will continue to happen before and after October 2nd. But once that official count day is, that's what our funding is based on until the February count day. So currently, our enrollment is 1,001 students. Of those, 991 students are physically on campus between our two buildings, and 10 of those students are enrolled in our virtual academy. In February, the funding that we're still receiving right now is based on the February count day. And in February of 2023, our in-person enrollment was 953, and our virtual academy was 11, for a total of 964 students. So those virtual academy students, we receive 85% of the funding. The in-person students, we get 100% of the funding that is determined by the state each year. So our enrollment has increased from 964 to 1,001. We are up 37 students as of today compared to last year, which means we should be getting more education funds than we did in February. Additionally, we have gone from 11 virtual academy to 10. So of the students that we get funded at 85%, we have one less of those students. But we still want to keep offering that option because that is very much needed and appreciated for those 10 students that are there. Next, I want to share with you some good news. Each year, I apply for a school safety grant and fill out that application in the summer, and it takes until about the beginning of September to find out if we receive any funding. I am happy to say that I was just notified that this year we will be receiving $76,500 for our school safety grant. That's a little over $1,200 more than we got last year. And this funding is used to pay for having 2 SROs in our campus. One of our SROs is through a memo of understanding with the county, and we share that officer. The other SRO is hired directly through the school, but we are very, very grateful to both of them who are standing here. And yes, gentlemen, we've got money to pay you again for another year. So, one thing I was a little disappointed about, you may have heard a lot during legislation and when laws were passed and they were increasing funding for this, what they increased was the number of categories you could apply for. So before, there were only 3 different things I could apply for to use this funding for. This year it went to like 14 different things or something. But it really didn't change the amount that you could apply for based on the size of your district. So I could have requested money for different things, but then I would not have the money for 2 SROs. And I think that we were wise to get a second SRO, and we want to keep doing that. So I wrote the grant using that funding. Next, I want to share and thank Quinn McCrory. We have received another grant from WHIN. During the pandemic, they offered funding to schools. You could apply for a grant to support e-learning, was what Southeast Fountain initially wrote a grant for. And through that, we were able to get a number of devices or hotspots or things like that to support that. Well, as the pandemic eased up and we were back in school more, but we still have some days that we need to do e-learning, whether it's weather related or students who were out with COVID, things like that. A second round of funding opened up and we jumped on it and we were able to get that and buy a lot more student devices to keep that going. Well, we met all of the student devices we had, and then WHIN said, well, some districts or organizations didn't take advantage of the opportunity, so we have a little money left. If we allowed you, if there's enough, what would you use it for? And so we talked and we said, well, we would still, because it still had to fall under that same thing, we said, well, our teachers need devices to provide e-learning when it happens. And so, so they actually, one amount that they told us, maybe it was no guarantee. We looked at that. We wrote a grant application by that, and by we, I mean Quinn. But Quinn submitted that after he and I talked, and we were notified on August 29th that we have received $24,972, which was more than we had even been told that we could maybe receive. So Quinn, being the great IT director that he is, quickly reached out to our provider and said, how many devices can I get for this amount? And they increased and worked with it, and we are now getting enough devices that I believe most, if not all, of our staff devices are going to be upgraded in.
It'll be close to getting school over.
So again, all of this has been done, student devices and now staff devices, without having to touch those funds in our operation funds. We have been able to use grants to get these things done. So very excited about that and appreciative. Thank you, Quinn. Next, I want to share with you, because I like to share when I receive accolades, whether it's about a student or a group of students. So I want to share with you, I received this on September 8th from our athletic director, Mr. Good, shared it with me. He received a call from Park Heritage Middle School principal. She called to say that our 6th grade volleyball players and coaches were fantastic the night before their game. She said everyone was so polite and friendly, and our benches were left clean after the game. Thank you, Coach Steinbrenner and the 6th grade girls for representing Fountain Central with class. So again, I love when our students, our staff go out to other schools in the community and are recognized for how respectful and courteous they are. So congratulations to our 6th grade volleyball team. The last thing, I just want to acknowledge, someone asked about the Mustang bus that we have. To answer that question, when we trade in our buses, when we purchase new buses, we trade in our buses, and we get about a very small amount for the trade-in, less than $5,000. Well, so this year, a couple of our buses, rather than trading in, we actually sold them. One, a minibus, a neighboring district had wrecked a bus, and we had an extra one that was sitting, and it could be used for special needs. We were able to sell that bus to them. We also sold a couple of our other buses rather than trading them in. By doing that, we got more money than we did for the trade-in. So that money went into to the Transportation Department fund. That money can't be used for anything other than transportation, because it was transportation money in the beginning. It's transportation money at the end. The extra money we had enabled us to purchase an extra new bus this year, so that we got ahead of where we were on our plan by making the choices we had. We still had some money in that fund. Again, it was not tax dollars. It was not any of that money that was built in our budget. We also had a bus that was not being used. In fact, it's a much older bus, but still, because we have an amazing mechanic, it's in tip-top shape. So we used some of those funds that we got, extra funds, not tax dollars, that we had received, and used that old bus, and we had a wrap put on it for a very minimal cost. That bus was not purchased out of athletics fund. Athletics funds cannot be used for buses. It also was not purchased to be the football team bus. Any of our athletic teams or our choir, anyone that's going anywhere, we would like to transport them in that, because we think it shows our Mustang pride as we're going out into the community. So no extra funds were used for that, and it was all money that we got by either using grants for things or using extra money that we got by doing some different business. We're working really hard at finding grants, like we did for the computers that I just talked about this kind of thing, so that we're not using, either our education funds couldn't be used for this, or other operating funds. And so to answer that question, in fact, last year, about a year ago at this time, we figured up just in grants and things like that we had written and received, we were over $10 million in grants that came in to help offset costs for things, so that we did not have to take anything else. And that's why our school district continues to remain with a very healthy budget. That said, this is the first year we did take some money from our rainy day fund, and the reason for that, the state of Indiana has changed, and now school districts are responsible to pay book fees. Families no longer pay that. We will recoup that money at the end of the year, but the textbook companies need their money now, and we can't wait until the end of the year to give our students their textbooks, whether those are electronic or hard copies of books. So we did have to do that so that we can pay those bills and have textbooks for our students. But it's not because we in any way were spending what we have. It was just the nature of the change in legislation. So again, thank you to all of you who have been here tonight. I appreciate the passion of this community and the support of this community, and how committed we all are to this district, no matter what our opinions are. We're here because we care about Southeast Mountain, and I appreciate that. And also thank you, Mr. Magus, for explaining to us how the PO bond would work and how it could benefit our district. And finally, thank you to the board as you look over the proposed budget and consider what you have heard tonight about the bond and what I'm hoping to be able to do, if you approve everything. I appreciate your thoughtful consideration of that.
Okay. Statements or concerns from the board?
I want to thank Dr. Grimes for all the hard work on the budget. That's not an easy thing to do, so I would really appreciate that. The other thing too is Rebecca Trosper. I think that's awesome that she's worked so hard and was able to get that done in a timely manner. And then I'm also proud of our athletes, the sixth grade girls. Last year, well, maybe it was still this year, we got a lot of nice comments back from referees that spoke about how good our kids were and how courteous and polite, and that's what we want to be known for. So I'm proud of our students.
Okay, I think we've got all our document signing done.
I guess I want to thank the individuals that came this evening and spoke. As, alumni of the school, I appreciate that. I think it's good. Anytime we get, folks from the community in here and speaking your mind on different things, appreciate the documentation that you gave us. Something for us to look over, discuss. But, thanks for coming and your time this evening. Appreciate that.
Okay, so got the document signing done, so adjournment.
Motion?
Second?
All in favor? Okay.